Hello friends, welcome to the part 2 of Operan Haldane theory. In part 1 we talked about the chemical evolution on early earth, in which we saw how the inorganic molecules reacted to form the simple organic molecules, and how simple organic molecules formed the complex organic molecules, and how complex organic molecules formed the polymers of the organic molecules like DNA, RNA and other things. In this video we will now talk about how these polymers of organic molecules led to the biological evolution or formation of the first cells. Now biological evolution means how the first cells arose, and this, like the chemical evolution, was a multi-step event. Now as far as the biological evolution is concerned, the first step in the evolution of biological cells, living cells, was the formation of the protobionts. Now what are protobionts? Early prebiotic chemical systems having one or more properties of the living systems, one or more properties of living systems are called as the protobionts. So protobiont. So protobiont is actually a system that is having one or more properties of living systems. These are non-living entities, non-living structures, but have properties of one or more properties of the living systems. Now there are three requirements for a prebiotic system to form the living systems. These are: number first, for a prebiotic system to act as a protobiont, it first must have there must be the presence of self-replicating molecule or self-reproducing molecule, and those self-reproducing molecules are called as the replicators. So presence of the self-reproducing molecule or replicators is the first requirement. The second requirement is that these self-replicating molecules should be subjected to mutations. So second point will be the mutations should occur during the copying or replication of the replicators, because mutations will bring about the variations. And third important requirement is that there should be a constant supply of energy to the replicators, and these replicators should be partially separated from the surroundings. So let us note this point: there should be supply of energy to the replicators and their partial separation from the environment or the surroundings. So let us note this point: and their partial separation from the environment. So if any prebiotic system fulfills these three requirements, then it can lead to the formation of the first living cells. Now there are two candidates that are fit to be called as the protobionts. These two types of protobionts have been artificially synthesized, but they provide an important clue as to how the early aggregates or polymers might have given rise to the first living systems. These protobionts have been synthesized by different workers, and these different protobionts include: number one, the conservates. Conservates are the first candidates that are believed to act as the protobionts, or they are believed to have given rise to at least precursors of the first living cells. And number second is the microspheres. So let us talk about more about them one by one. First, let us talk about the conservates. Now these conservates have been developed by the O'Parin. in the laboratory. So these both of them are, as I mentioned, both of them are artificially synthesized structures, but they provide us a clue as to how they might have resulted in formation of first cells. So as far as these conservators are concerned, these conservators were developed by Oparin in 1927. So what Oparin did is that he brought a solution of the carbohydrates. So he took a solution of carbohydrates, and in the solution he also added the large proteins. Then the mixture that was formed was shaken. After shaking the mixture, the aggregates of the proteins and carbohydrate is separated out, and those separated aggregates are called as the conservates. So separation of the conservates resulted by shaking the carbohydrate and protein solutions. These aggregates of proteins and the carbohydrates that also got enveloped by a thin film of water. So these conservators are not living. They are not living structures because they don't have a biological membrane. But these conservators, these aggregates, had a definite structure arrangement. Number one, these conservators, they showed some properties of the living systems. For example, these conservators could grow, and these showed the early types of the metabolism, early signs of the metabolism. Now, for these reasons, these conservates, according to Oparin, they are believed to have given rise to the first type of the living cells, or they might have evolved into first living cells, because these conservates, they had some of the properties, if not all, of the living systems. They were capable of growing, they had a definite arrangement, and they could remain in the solution for quite long. They could maintain themselves, and they showed the early signs of the metabolism. And for this reason, they are Oparin believed, he proposed a theory that the conservators were responsible for giving rise to the first cells. If not first cells, then at least conservators were responsible for giving rise to the precursors of the living cells. Now the number second protobiont is the microspheres. Microspheres, like the conservators, have also been synthesized in the laboratory. They were synthesized by Sidney Fox. What Sidney Fox did is that he took he heated the amino acids. He took a dry mixture of amino acids, and those amino acids were heated to a temperature of 180 degrees centigrade. And because of this, these amino acids, they polymerized by dehydration synthesis, and that resulted into the formation of a polymers called as the proteinoids. Then these proteinoids were placed in the cool water along with the lipids. So after the proteinoids were formed, these proteinoids were then poured in cold water or cool water along with some lipid, and this resulted in the formation of the aggregates which were called as the microspheres. Now, as far as this type of protobiont is concerned, that is the microspheres, these microspheres were enveloped by a double membrane, and they had a size of 1 to 2 micrometers. Now, they differed from microsphere, these conservators, with the fact that conservators had a single membrane, while as these microspheres had a double membrane. You can see in this diagram that these microspheres are lined or covered externally by a double lipid membrane. These microspheres, they are, according to Fox, were the actual precursors of the first life forms, because they showed again the some of the properties of the living forms, because they could absorb materials from the surroundings, and these could also show they could shrink or they could swell just like the living cells do when they are placed in different types of solutions having different osmotic concentration. Likewise, these microspheres could shrink or swell depending upon the osmotic potential. Similarly, these could also show budding. Here is the bud, and these bud could then grow and separate from the microsphere. Therefore, microspheres, they were believed to be the precursors of the first living cells, or they formed the protobionts. Some according to some, these microspheres should be considered as the first living cells, because some also believe that they also showed some sort of motility, and their budding superficially resembles with the budding shown by some living organisms like some fungi and the bacteria. But most of the scientists are of the opinion that microspheres, like the conservators, they are the protobionts. They are the structures that led to the formation of the precursors of first living cells. Now let us talk about the next stage in the direction of the biological evolution. That was the formation of the protocells or the eubionts. Now, what are protocells or eubionts? So these protobionts that either these what are conservators or the microspheres, these protobionts, they started accumulating more and more substances, and meanwhile the proteins also got associated with the membranous covering of these what are called as the protobionts. One among the protein was the chromatophores. Now, what is chromatophore? Chromatophore is a light harvesting protein. So in earlier protobionts had only the lipid membrane. Now this lipid membrane was associated protein, it got associated with the proteins like the chromatophores. Now chromatophores could absorb the light. Chromatophores are responsible for absorption of the light, and this absorption of light by these chromatophores led to the development of a potential, so or electric potential across the membrane. So an electric potential was created across the limiting lipid membrane because of the association of light harvesting proteins chromatophores in the lipid membrane. Now because of this generation of this electric potential across the membrane, there was now the source of energy available to these prebiotic systems. So let me draw here suppose a prebiotic system which eventually formed the first type of the protocellular eubiont. So here is the protein or the chromatophores that got embedded in the lipid membrane. So because of these molecules, chromatophores, electric potential developed across the membrane, and this energy was utilized by these chemical systems in the chemical reactions. So the energy for the many chemical reactions that were occurring within these membrane bound structures was provided by the electrical potential. And many of these chemical reactions were catalyzed by the RNA. In fact, RNA not only acted as the genetic material, it also acted as a catalyst. It could catalyze the formation of the proteins, as well as it could catalyze its own replication. So even today we will find that these RNA molecules are capable of acting both as a substrate as well as the enzyme. So it is believed that back then it was an RNA world. An RNA dominated world was present at that time, and these RNAs, this is being also, there is proof is that there are several retroviruses even today that have RNA as the genetic material. And in case of the ribosomal RNAs, these ribosomal RNAs, they could act as the enzymes, as well as they also have the informational the properties. But later on, because RNA is a unstable molecule, it was replaced by the DNA. So DNA acted as the genetic material because RNA is very unstable, and the catalytic job was taken by the role of this catalyst. I'm sorry, here there is some issue. Let me fix it first. And the proteins took the job of the catalysis. So proteins now were acted as the catalysts, while as the DNA acted as the genetic material. This is because RNA is comparative, it is very unstable. Therefore, naturally, in due course of time, RNA was taken over by the DNA as the genetic material. So those prebiotic systems having DNA as genetic material and proteins acting as the enzymes, those structures were called as the protocells. So a protocell is a structure, a protocell or the eubiont is as a structure, is a pre-living system that has now a genetic material in the form of the DNA, a self-replicating molecule in the form of DNA, and it has an array of the chemicals which includes proteins and some of the proteins acting as the enzymes. So this was about the protocells. Now later on, it is also believed, some scientists are the opinion, this was the time during which viruses evolved. And in fact, some of the scientists are of the opinion that viruses are actually the protobionts and these protocells. According to NCERT, these protobionts or the protocells, they might have evolved some 3 billion years ago. While as there are others who are of the opinion that they might have evolved some 4 billion years ago. So whatever case, they have been evolved some according to NCERT now some 3 billion years ago. Then these protocells or eubionts, they led to the formation of the earliest cells or the first living cells. Now, how these first living cells were formed? They were formed when the protocells accumulated more and more organic matter. In other words, they were accumulating the cytoplasm or the living matter or the machinery to form the first living cells. So first living cells were the prokaryotes. And now we know prokaryotes, they have a naked DNA. Their DNA is not associated with any proteins and it is not enveloped by any membrane. So they had a naked DNA and a machinery to form the proteins, as well as a mechanism to form the energy molecules like ATP. It is utilization and it is storage. They all had these mechanisms. And these prokaryotes are believed to have evolved some 2 billion years according to NCERT. Now let us have a look at how the aggregates led to the formation of the first living cells. So towards the left extreme you can see there were the aggregates of these proteins and other biomolecules and the other organic polymers. These aggregates first led to the formation of the protobionts, and from protobionts arose the protocells, and protocells led to the formation of living cells. Now let me draw this in a diagram and explain this in a diagram. So when the polymers of the organic molecules were formed, the waves brought these polymers to the shores where they got deposited or they got accumulated in the crevices of the rocks, and they formed a sort of the sludge or mud, and in that mud these organic molecules or polymers interacted with each other. For example, the proteins formed the hydrophilic aggregates, and they also got enveloped by thin layer of water because of the free valencies, and these eventually led to the formation of the protobionts. And then the protobionts they led to the formation of the protocells. Protobionts were, and these protocells they later result in the formation of the first living cells. Now let us, the first prokaryotes that evolved, they were chemoheterotrophs. Now what is a chemoheterotroph? Chemoheterotroph is the organism that absorbs the organic matter from outside. A chemoheterotroph cannot synthesize its own organic molecules. So the prokaryotes that evolved some 2 billion years ago, they were incapable of forming their own organic molecules. Rather, they absorbed these organic molecules from the outside. And number one. Number second, there was still no oxygen, so therefore they were anaerobes. So the first living cells that evolved from the protocells were prokaryotes, they were chemoheterotrophs, and they were the anaerobes. Then after some time, after some millions of years, then there was the origin of the chemosynthesis. Now why the chemosynthesis means, because of this now the temperature of these water bodies that continued to drop. So drop in the temperature resulted in the stoppage of the formation of organic molecules. So no organic molecules, or there was no synthesis of the new organic molecules in the water bodies. Organic molecules stopped to synthesize. Number one. Number second, the already existing chemoheterotrophs, they were quickly absorbing the organic molecules, whatever organic molecules was left. So whatever organic molecule was left, the organic molecules were being consumed by the chemoheterotrophic prokaryotes. So naturally there was a competition for food now, because no food was not being synthesized, and all these living organisms could not synthesize their food. Therefore some of these chemoheterotrophs, they now developed a mechanism by which they could synthesize their own organic molecules. Now those organisms that could synthesize their own organic molecules, they are called as the chemosynthetic organisms. Now they are called as chemosynthetic because they could transform the inorganic raw materials into the organic food, but the energy that was required for this conversion, that came from the chemical reactions. The exothermic reaction, one of the exothermic reaction yielded energy, and that energy was being utilized by these organisms in converting inorganic raw materials into organic food. So such type of organisms are called as chemosynthetic organisms. So there are even at present some living organisms, they are the chemosynthetic. For example, these chemosynthetic organisms are therefore called as the chemoautotrophs, because they could synthesize their own food, therefore they are autotrophs, but they derive this energy from the chemical reactions, therefore they will be the chemoautotrophs. So even today there are iron bacteria and other bacteria that show this chemoautotrophism. Now the next step in the evolution was the origin of the photosynthesis. This was the one of the dramatic events in the evolution of the living organisms. Now what happened was that a unique molecule was evolved, a light harvesting molecule got evolved, and that light harvesting molecule is the chlorophyll. Somehow some of the chemoautotrophs evolved a chemical, a light harvesting protein. That light harvesting protein is called as the chlorophyll. So with the evolution of this light harvesting pigment chlorophyll, these organisms can now use the solar light. They can absorb the light from energy from the sun and use this energy in converting the inorganic raw materials into the organic food. So now the organisms are again autotrophs, but this time the energy for conversion of inorganic raw materials to the organic food comes from the solar radiations. So sun is the source of energy. So now the mechanism was developed by which solar energy could be trapped. So now a constant supply of energy was there, and that was in the form of the solar radiations. But one thing that is to be noted is these organisms did not use water as the source of hydrogen or the reducing power. They used other sources of hydrogen, like the hydrogen sulfide, as a result of which, though they could form their own organic molecules like the glucose, but that did not result in the release of the oxygen. And we know that oxygen in the photosynthesis comes from the water. So such type of photosynthesis is called as anoxygenic photosynthesis. So first photoautotrophs were anoxygenic photoautotrophs because they used a source of hydrogen other than water. Water was not used as a source of hydrogen. As a result, still their atmosphere, still the surroundings were without free molecular oxygen. Later on, because of the continuous selection, because of the mutations and all that, some of these bacteria, some of the prokaryotes, photoautotrophs, they used hydrogen, water as a source of what is called as this hydrogen, and as a result of which oxygen was evolved. So this led to the evolution of oxygenic photosynthesis. Oxygenic photosynthesis resulted when water was used as a source of hydrogen, right? So this with the evolution, with the release of oxygen in the environment was converted into an oxidizing environment. These organisms, they lived on earth for millions of years. So for millions of years now, the oxygenic photosynthetic autotrophs dominated the world, and these were the organisms like we find even today, like blue green algae or cyanobacteria. These were those cyanobacteria or blue green like organisms, and they continuously released the oxygen, and that oxygen was later the driving force for the next source of the next course of evolution. The released oxygen, it oxidized the ammonia of atmosphere, and that was converted into nitrogen and the water. Similarly, the methane, all methane that was present in the early atmosphere, that was oxidized into carbon dioxide and water. Similarly, the ozone, oxygen reacted with itself and it resulted in the formation of the ozone. So eventually an ozone layer, an ozone filter was developed in the atmosphere. Now the harmful radiations could not reach the surface of the earth, and with these changes occurring, there was further evolution of the living organisms. Now different types of the living organisms evolved because of the release of the oxygen. Oxygen aerated this water bodies became clear, and similarly it eventually led to the formation of the eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are believed to have evolved some 1600 million years back, and there are two hypotheses with regard to the evolution of the eukaryotes. Some believe that eukaryotes evolved because of the symbiotic association of many prokaryotes, and that led to the formation of the eukaryotes. And some believe that the prokaryotes developed different organelles, and with the development of different organelles, they evolved into the eukaryotes. So the eukaryotes, they evolved from the prokaryotes. So after these prokaryotes, eukaryotes evolved many different organisms. For example, then these algae were evolved, and other organisms got evolved. So in this today's video, we talked about the how the biological evolution, how first living organisms were formed. We had seen that the living organisms, first living cells, they evolved in a multi-step manner. And if we could summarize this, the timeline, so we will see that the first, the protobionts were evolved. Protobionts gave rise to protocells, or the eubionts, and eubionts or protocells then gave rise to the first life forms, and these first living cells were actually the prokaryotes. They were prokaryotes, and these prokaryotes, the first prokaryotes were actually the chemoheterotrophs. They could not synthesize their organic food, and these chemoheterotrophs then led to the chemoautotrophs, and chemoautotrophs could synthesize their food, but they used the energy from the chemical reactions, and these chemoautotrophs then led to the photoautotrophs. The first photoautotrophs, however, were anoxygenic. So they were anoxygenic photoautotrophs, and then photoautotrophs led to the formation of the oxygenic photoautotrophs. So they led to the oxygenic photoautotrophs, and then oxygenic photoautotrophs, they led to the evolution of the eukaryote. So number next and final was the evolution. Now let us have the timeline. So according to NCERT, these were evolved protocells or eubionts were evolved some 3 billion years ago. Others believe that they have evolved much earlier, 3.9 billion years. And as far as first cells, they evolved some 2 billion years. So 2 billion years back. Similarly, the eukaryotes, they evolved 1600 million years or 1.6 billion years back. So hope you find these videos useful. If you find these videos useful, please do like and share the channel. Thank you.